Bing X Lords. Anyways, good morning and welcome back to another edition of Money in Motion as Monte shakes his head in disgust. Today is September 14th, Thursday, so welcome back. European Central Bank hiked rates, got a little bit of a rally in risk to start the day, but retraced a lot of the gains thus far, but excited to get into it and break down a bunch of stuff. Monte, how you doing? Anything that you're looking at to start the day?
Doing well, CJ. Doing well. Thank you for that very interesting introduction. But yeah, I mean, you can tell. Look at the comments in the chat, right? Like UIC now points out, and Ryan points out, there is some interesting price action going on today. So there's definitely some stuff I want to talk about, and let's dive right into it. I want to actually go ahead and start with Bitcoin because a lot of people were talking about this chart this morning. You know, we're looking actually really strong and showing signs of positive price action. But I think a lot of this was on the back of pre-market, equity pre-market data, and people knowing that equities were going to gap up on the open. And since then, the evidence for that is the fact that we've retraced in the last 15 minutes, as have equities since, the gap opened. So that's basically what's going on with Bitcoin. I'm expecting us to come back down, retest this 26.2 level. This is still such a critical level. I mean, this is the 15-minute chart. You can see it's even on the 15-minute chart, it's a critical level. But the daily chart, I think, really kind of validates this as a highly critical level. This is the first, what I mentioned yesterday, right? Like, I want to see a candle body close above 26.2. And today looks like it may be the day we get that. And if we do get that, then I'll consider buying a little bit of spot, putting my stop loss right below, this line here. So basically 2,600, because, anytime we've gotten around this level, we've seen heavy distribution evident from these wicks, resistance, big sell pressure here, lots of volume as well. But now we're above that level. And if we can maintain being above that level today and close today above that level, that's going to be enough for me to trigger a buy. I talked about that yesterday, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate that today. But I think a lot of it's going to be contingent on equity markets and how they perform throughout the day. And right now, not looking so hot after opening up on the day. So what are you seeing, CJ, as we start the day here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a similar thing to kind of like last night, or not last night, but yesterday, where you kind of just have to wait till the close. I mean, yesterday just looked awful, but now you have things coming back like the Russell gapping up higher. Yeah, wise decision right there, Ryan. It's tough for me to say like I'm expecting, because it's usually wrong. So let me just tell you what I'm looking at. This one's running away from me now.
Oh, the oats.
It started down only about a couple, like 30 bips to start the day. And I was really thinking about getting short, but this looks to be running away from me a bit now. We'll see if it closes down. That still looks like a decent short. Yeah, pretty big fake out with the Russell low tick last night. So we'll see if that closes green. The thing about the Russell, if like I was to play kind of an equity market uptrend or like a rebound in the equity market, Russell's kind of difficult because it's the least correlated to all the other indices as a result of all the small caps in it. And even when COT was bullish on Russell in 2021, it didn't really do a whole lot. And you had a lot of other assets, obviously like the NASDAQ, that was just printing and making new highs. So just something to understand with the Russell and some context around it. Yeah, I'll pass it back though for now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it does look like, I mean, the Russell is the most resilient definitely today. Still, though, not the prettiest looking daily candle forming on the Russell. So
Bitcoin's like still pretty strong.
yeah, no, Bitcoin
Coinbase is
actually,
almost up 4%. Like
yeah,
you
and I
wouldn't
think
really know it from looking at the crypto equities that were down in the Nasdaq right now, or we retraced, 0.5%.
yeah, and that's actually what I was going to pull up next is the crypto related equities, and how they're performing is. I mean, they have pulled back since the open a little bit. That being said, still green on the day. Riot up 4%, Coinbase up 3.4%. But for me, it's all about Bitcoin being above that critical 26.2 level. The fact that it's above that level, I think that's indicative of risk on price action. And again, like, let me pull up the Bitcoin chart one more time because a lot of people might say, Monte, yeah, we're grinding higher, but we're doing it on, relatively low volume. There's not a whole lot of spot volume coming in, not a whole lot of buyers stepping in. Let's see if it's any different over on Binance. No, same thing. Just not a lot of buyers stepping in. So, what's driving this higher? I think it's pretty evident that here people anticipated a breakdown from 25K and they got short and they got squeezed out. And we're seeing a continuation of those shorts continuing to cover. People that didn't want to close yesterday are being forced to close today. Even if you entered down here with 3x leverage, you're now sweating quite a bit. And you should have already been out of your position if you're still holding.
More importantly, like what were you trying to make, if you're short there?
Yeah, you're
Like,
trying to. I mean, presumptively, you're trying to play the breakdown. Like this is the breakdown, right? Like, this was a fake out, but the death cross, right? We had the death cross. Everyone's talking about that. The cross.
I'm just saying the risk to reward seems pretty. It's always in crypto, the risk to reward is always going to favor longing over the long term,
Absolutely.
in my opinion.
No,
Sorry, go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And I certainly wasn't one of the people shorting down here. In fact, I was saying this is a good spot buying opportunity because I do think shorts are going to get squeezed out. And that's exactly what we've seen. So, for me, I did scale in down here and I will be looking to scale in if we can close today's, like I said, like I keep reiterating. I know I keep saying it, but it's really important because you can see that we've seen such strong distribution each time we've come up into this zone. If we can close above that, I think that's really indicative of independent strength, especially with the NASDAQ potentially closing red on the day. So I don't know. I'm proud of Bitcoin today. I'm feeling pretty proud, like a proud father. And, it's holding its own despite the fact that equity markets are pulling back pretty rapidly.
Enjoy that feeling while it lasts. Your boy's about to come home with a failed report card and suspension. You have to break out the belt. Nah, I'm just joking. But
Sounds like you're speaking from experience there.
yeah,
Oh,
one lashing for every incorrect question on the exam.
Yeah, that explains why you're so smart. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What else are you looking at today?
We were talking about Aussie dollar and things of that sort. I do think DXY still gives it all back today. Just kind of have a hunch. But
DXY looks strong though today, man. You want to pull up that chart? Because
yeah, I'll
I
get
think
the
it's worth
futures out
it's
here.
worth talking about. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter being like, "This is it. The dollar's breaking out." Maybe that's actually a counter indicator because Twitter tends to be on the wrong side of things. But the dollar is above that critical 105 level we've been talking about and continuing to rise. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely still punishing the risk assets. Interesting to see the dollar actually close up after obviously European Central Bank hiking. That's pretty like you would not think that. But yeah, I mean dollar we've talked about the positioning in the dollar. Like going back to last week, it has not been that crowded in terms of, or it hasn't been like it's working its way back to neutral, but there's still a lot of shorts in terms of retail and large specs that could have gotten squeezed out, and I guess we're seeing that. I have to say I was a little bit surprised at this reaction in the DXY um, as a response to the rate hikes by the ECB, but I mean, we'll see how it closes. I don't really
Would
think
you
there's a whole lot of action to take. If I was going to play the strong dollar, I would like usually you see weak commodities or like you can see ZL and grains are a little bit weaker today on the back of a strong dollar. So that might be an interesting non-correlated or less correlated way to play, a move in to the upside in equities or excuse me, a move to the upside in the DXY.
yeah.
So that's really all I've been looking at. If we look at, let me just check oats one last time. So yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, right? But the fact that the small SPACs are not short, therefore I can short this asset. With the large speculators being long, you can see retail long, large specs long, commercials continue to sell. And so maybe, last week was the inflection point and, we can catch a down move to like the 400 level. Maybe. But I think that would be an interesting way to play the counter risk play or like the strong dollar trade. That's one vehicle that you could do it in.
Yeah. Um, and regarding the dollar, I mean, we've been talking about it a lot this week, talking about that critical 105 level. Um, would you, and also we've been talking a lot about narrative failures and news failures. Would you classify this as like a news failure? Like if the DXY today closes up on the back of that European Central Bank news, would you classify that as like a news failure and assign that potentially the DXY is showing independent signs of strength? Or
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's the market reacting the way you wouldn't think it would based on something that should push it lower, being the dollar. And, the opposite has happened. Now, the positioning isn't really there for me to take a trade. So, you need the positioning, the news failure. And ideally,
just
you want to see it like at the top of an uptrend or the bottom of a downtrend to like
right?
reverse the trend. I mean, right now we're just seeing continuation of strength in the dollar, and really nobody has been positioned for it. And we could go back to the start of the year. It was funny when we were talking about like gold and the dollar. It just takes a long time for those trends to turn sometimes, but we're eventually seeing them.
Yeah. I think you know those trends do last a while. That's very evident in those assets, but what trends don't last a while is altcoin trends, and I do want to talk about a few different altcoins because I am in one position only in the altcoin sphere. Some of you may know how I'm positioned, but the only position I'm in right now is a dot short, and right now I'm in the red. I entered at $4, and since have been slightly squeezed up. But one thing that you'll notice, if you just look at my watch list, is that there's a lot of other coins today that are up more than what we're seeing here from Dot. And again, my thesis for this is just the fact that I looked at the funding rate. The funding rate was neutral. It was actually positive, meaning that it wasn't an overcrowded trade, and I still think that's the case. So, it initially I published the trade insight in our Discord like here, and it initially broke down, and I was worried that people were gonna miss the move. But now that it's come back up, I think that you can get another shot at it. And talking about risk to reward, and if it climbs up here, cut it. But I think the potential downside is tremendous, and I think it could fall very rapidly, as it tends to when it breaks into what is essentially a local low. When it breaks a local low, it moves really fast, and I think that is a possibility for DOT. But then again, we are seeing relative strength for Bitcoin. So as long as that is maintained, I don't think DOT is going to necessarily tank. But I do still like this as a long-term short. I'm holding it with very low leverage, 1.8x leverage.
Could I ask you a question, Monte?
Yeah.
What would you think about changing this position from a DOT short to just a Bitcoin DOT short BTC pair? Could you bring up the BTC pair and see how that one's playing out? Because I think the way I would do that trade is same idea, but maybe just add a little bit more leverage, because the BTC pair usually just bleeds with a little less volatility. And even in a squeeze like today, it's, you'd still be making money.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and it's evident from this chart, right? We talk, like, if you're comparing it to the good old metaphor of a ski slope, like, this is a nice little bunny hill. There's no squeezing going on here. And that's because, Bitcoin and it just tends to outperform DOT when we see, moments of risk off price action. We see DOT bleed more. That's just the way it is. It's not just DOT, it's all altcoins, right? They tend to bleed out more than Bitcoin. I think really any short, you could say, would be probably more favorable to take on with the BTC pair, just because you're less likely to get squeezed out. That being said, unfortunately, that's not an option on BingX, which is where I currently have this position situated. But place like TradeStation or
You just one extra order.
Oh yeah, or you can exactly, or you could just do that. Just put in a Bitcoin order and synthetically create that position. There's actually a really good website. I'll post it in the Discord to help create synthetic BTC positions, and it'll show you, exactly how much you need to buy in order for it to, be a true hedge, or a true, like, not a hedge, but a Bitcoin pair. So that's a good point. And as you note, the difference between those two charts, like today DOT is green, but DOT BTC is red. So even on a day of green price action, which is atypical, I would expect the DOT BTC pair to actually be outperforming on a day of green price action for Bitcoin, but we're not seeing that. And that is another sign of just general weakness out of DOT for me. So I think this thing's going to bleed out. I think it was UIC Now that said use case questionable, or someone said use case questionable. And yeah, I think, like, forget about that. Even, like, who's going to come in and be like a hero buyer of DOT at $4? I just don't see it happening, and I see it.
It's EOS, it's the equivalent of like EOS or something that pumped in 2017 that never came back to the 2021 cycle. DOT's not coming back. It could in USD, but it's never going to make an all-time high against Bitcoin.
Right.
There's less than a 1% chance, in my opinion, that happens.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
That's the only position I'm in. But I think that's with the Bitcoin pair. I think that's a really a good play, and I might actually go ahead and take on a Bitcoin position in order to kind of synthetically create that position. So yeah, good call.
One of the best edges in the market, because if you look at like what was happening at the start of the echo bubble, you would have made money in any type of market environment because Bitcoin led the way. I think alts actually did worse in a bullish environment against their BTC pair than in a bearish environment. So finding some strategy that can work in multiple market environments, that's the edge in this market, I think. And a lot of these, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see a lot of people talking about shorting the market in terms of BTC pairs. It's normally just like levered shorting some narrative play or something.
Yeah.
Or like what people are doing now, trying to front run this FTX liquidation. There's no edge there. Everyone already knows it's happening. Therefore, the coins are as good as sold, in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, they probably could go down a lot, but like there's no edge in trying to short now because everybody knows it's going to happen already. It's already been factored into the market, which is a discounting mechanism. Monte, any views on that in the FTX situation?
Well, you just said in my opinion, but I'm pretty sure I'm the one that said that before the show started. But
Well, I just try to steal ideas
I'll
from
allow you to
people who seem
plagiarize
smart.
my. No, but yeah, that is so true, and it's such a the thing is, it's such a prevalent narrative right now. That concept of FTX is about to be dumping these coins on the market. If everyone knows it, then they're as good as sold. Like CJ said, the market's a discounting mechanism. Like that's factored in already. Like those coins getting unlocked, it's not like it's gonna result in some rapid sell pressure. Everyone knows the sell's coming, so therefore it's priced in.
Yeah, they ain't selling Coinbase shares, so
No.
I don't care about it. So I mean, it is what it is. Look, to wrap up the show, from my perspective, if there's anything to really take away, I think we're just in the continuation of the death cross pump, and whatever the moving average is at the top of the range, I forget where exactly, but if we pump into the 200-day moving average, I would expect some sell pressure there, and probably a resumption of just neutral trend, bearish trend. I mean, we'll see, but I really don't know what's going to happen after, if we finish this death cross pump and then maybe we just resume the trend. That's what 2019 would suggest in terms of like a neutral, sideways, boring period. Monty, maybe you think
No,
differently, or
that's exactly the scenario I would imagine is, and this is something that Nick and I talked about on Trading Rebellion on that one day that you weren't there last week, but the death cross narrative, like getting that pump up to 200-day moving average, it just seems like history repeating itself once again. I mean, we saw it in 2019, and I think we're seeing it here again. And then, like you said, that was followed with a period of very neutral to bearish price action. So there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity following that squeeze, that death cross squeeze. So once we do, if we do continue to pump, and I think we will, and much like UIC now, he says 26.7 is the level that he's kind of waiting for. That's basically, I'm in the same boat. I think anything above that, and I'm longing Bitcoin. And the reason why I'm longing Bitcoin and not an altcoin, I'd either be longing Bitcoin or Coinbase. Those are the two plays I'd make.
what about Lido?
Lido or ETH. Lido or ETH as well. Those are the four I'd consider. Forget about everything else.
Forget about
it. Delete them from your watch list. Throw them away. No, I'm kidding. Don't delete them from your watch list.
Monty's got the chain. He can say that. I mean it.
God, you made me lose my train of thought. But really, those four assets: Bitcoin, ETH, Coinbase, Lido. I think those will be the four strongest performing if we see some positive price action. So that's where I'm going to want to put my money. If we get that close above 26.7, I think we could see some really positive price action because we're seeing signs of resilience from things like Coin, from things like Riot, from Bitcoin today into NASDAQ weakness. And that to me is a very encouraging sign. It's very reminiscent of 2019 and the death cross pump, because in 2019, equity market was making all-time highs. Bitcoin was doing nothing. So, but that is all I got for today. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap things up?
No, that's about it. I think you hit all the assets that I was really looking at.
Yeah, the big four. The big four.
Remember Salunavax?
Oh God!
What's
Don't
the
even.
next that would be.
That was a cursed time.
We didn't know what we had back in those days, did we?
Truly.
All right.
Funny to think about.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Great way to support us and the channel here. And don't forget to check out tradethechain.com. Like I said, it's a great way to support the show. You can get a 14-day free trial, see our sentiment indicators that Alex has built out so nicely, as well as our Discord community where Monte and I and Nick and some of our other analysts are, publishing trade ideas and talking about the trades that we're taking in real time. So, we were talking about Coinbase and like other stuff. So if you want access to that, check out tradethechain.com. Try it for 14 days for free. If you don't like it, money back guarantee. But otherwise, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you back here same time tomorrow.